Good morning, and thank you for joining us for our February media briefing. We'll take a few minutes to go through where we are as it relates to the project and give you an update, and also give you an idea of what will be taking place within the next month. As you know, we'll actually have 4 phases. We finished 3 of the phases of the work, and the part that we're primarily working on is the purple, which is the actual demolition of the bridges and the reconstruction of the interchanges at Red Mountain Expressway and 31st Street. For the last month, we have been demoing the bridges. As of January 31st, when we closed 5920 between 15th Street and 27th Street, Red Mountain Expressway primarily, we've been focusing on removing the old bridge. This is a view of the bridge. We're looking west toward Tuscaloosa, and this is what the bridge looked like a week prior to the actual closure. The contractor started on the west end around 15th Street on the westbound roadway and started his demo. We'll walk through each week and showing you how much the contractor has accomplished in just about 5.5 weeks. Week 2, you can see the contractor, how he mobilized and was actually working from up top with his pole rams and actually jackhammering the deck and working his way back on the deck to get it removed, and then he will remove the girders after that. Week 3, you can see a section that's actually been removed in that area, around between 15th primarily and through downtown. Week 4, continuing east and removing. He's made all the way to the City Hall, the parking deck, and all the way to BJCC. And as of week 5, this was taken just a week or so ago, he's basically finished all the way up to about 23rd Street. We're going to switch the review and look back east now, and this is what was remaining as of week 5. As of today, he's actually only has a short portion of the actual deck that's left around 22nd, 23rd Street in those areas. And on February 3rd, that was the implosion. I think that's been shown, and many people have seen that. But that was a way for the contractor to bring down that elevated section that was pretty high in altitude, so he was able to do that safely by imploding it. Where is the contractor? He has 10 months and 24 days left to reach the full incentive, which was 12 months, which the contractors would like to finish in 12 months so he can get the full incentive of $15 million. That's $250,000 a day for 60 days. And if he doesn't finish in 12 months and 24 days, which is a countdown, then this disincentive would kick in, which would be the $250,000 a day that the contractor would have to pay ALDOT if he doesn't finish and have traffic back on the structure in that time frame. The contractor is still casting his units out near the airport and storing some out near the 40th Street. This is a view of the casting, how they're casting the units. You can see all the steel that's in one of the segments. This segment is actually about 1/2 of one of the bridges where the normal width of the bridge is. I'll show you that shortly. This is a view looking over the top of the casting yard and one of the segments. Notice the keyways that are put in to help match cast each unit. So when they mark them, they'll know which one will be to fit up with the other one, put together just like a puzzle. This is another overview showing some of the areas where they'll have the post tension, and we'll go through those units that you see here, those conduit that's there for them to help post tension these segments. This is where they're pouring the concrete. This is a finished product of one of the match casting units, and you can see the new form is adjacent to it, so they can pour the next unit, so they'll have it match cast. The contractor has decided to put it in some covering over each one of these to help with the ability to continue to pour, even in poor conditions when the weather's raining or cold. They can continue their work. This is a view of some of the columns and that have been cast. We're precasting those. The contractor made a decision to precast these units in order to expedite the building of the bridge. You probably have seen some of these have been installed along 9th Avenue near the BJCC. This is another view of the columns. It's the finished product. They actually have finished casting all of the columns. So they'll be able to expedite some of the casting of some of the segments now, because they can move that crew over to actually casting some of the columns. And this is one of the storage areas for the columns and the caps. As I mentioned, this is a segmental construction, and what the contractor will use is a new method that has not been used a lot, because most of these segmental bridges are very high in altitude, and so they use a different method. But here, since we're only about 20 or 30 feet above ground, they're going to actually use shoring to place the segments, and they'll place each one of these segments, and after they finish getting them in place, they will post tension each span, and then they'll remove the shoring to the next area where they'll start placing segments. So that's how the work will progress. Before the next briefing, you'll probably see some of these segments being installed along the project. This is a cross-sectional view of what a typical section of the the bridges. You basically have 4 lanes in this area, where you have 3 lanes. You have 5 lanes. You have 3 lanes in each direction, and you have an auxiliary lane that will connect Red Mountain Expressway and I-65, and you'll have shoulders on each side. But as we get closer to Red Mountain Expressway, or if we get closer to I-65, the bridge will get wider, because the ramps will come in play, and you'll have ramps in some of those areas. And then when the ramp actually separates from the bridge, you can see how that section will look for just one ramp when it separates from the mainline bridge. This is a view of the columns that has been placed. Most of these will be precast, and you've seen some of those been installed already. What we're doing every day is we're making the media aware of the road closures, and Linda Crockett from our office, our public information officer, sends out information on the road closures, and then identifies what roads are closed currently throughout the project. The contractor has the obligation to maintain a north and a south route between 15th and 18th Street, and between 19th and 23rd, and between 24th and Caraway. The mainline closures we're utilizing the detours. We encourage motorists to use either the Caraway ramp or the 25th Street ramp to bypass the closure. we're encouraging, if you're going to actually use the detour, to use the Caraway exit. If you want to go downtown, we're encouraging motorists to use the 25th Street exit. And keep in mind, the 25th Street exit and the 31st Street exit are on the same exit point. So you exit at the 31st Street, and then you veer to the left for the 25th Street off-ramp into downtown. And if you want to leave the city and you want to bypass if you're coming from the other direction, you can get on at 25th Street. 25th Street is now open, and you can use the ramp to access and go out of the city if you're traveling eastbound. During the last month, we have utilized our call center for 24-hour operation. It started on January the 18th, and we're still maintaining that hotline. The number of calls have decreased quite a bit, but in the peak of our calls, we had as many as 600 calls in a 24-hour period. And we were glad to be able to provide that service. It's still available. We're not manning it with a large staff at this time, but we still have a staff person who can answer that call and try to get you an answer at this point in time. At some point in time, we will probably close the call center on 24-hour and still have it available during the daytime for operation. I want to take this opportunity to thank all our partners, especially the motorists who heeded to our information that we provided, to encourage you to take alternate routes. I think motorists have done that. I've talked to several who have taken alternate routes, and it is showing up in our detour. And we want to take this opportunity to thank the motorists for their cooperation. We also want to thank the city for working with us in a collaborative effort in this manner to close the bridges and other efforts that they've done to adjust some of their street lights and make adjustments to some of their striping on the roads to facilitate the closures. And I want to thank also the media for helping us to get this word out. This has been a collaborative effort to get the word out to all persons who are coming through the city or who are working in the city to take alternate routes. And I also want to thank our ALDOT staff for working the call center. That was a tremendous effort on their part, being able to staff that with the staff that we have for a 24-hour operation. And we're very appreciative of what they have done in this effort. Yes, you can continue to follow us at our webpage at 5920bridge.com. Follow us on Facebook or Twitter. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to call Ms. Crockett. Linda Crockett, her number is shown on the media briefings screen. And also, I want to mention this week, there will be a lot of students in and around the construction zone at the BJCC with the Final Four basketball tournaments. And we've talked to our contractors, and we want to have that mentioned also out there that we need to be mindful of all the students and so they can be safe in walking around and traveling around the BJCC. Also, I want to take this opportunity to just say we want everyone to drive safe. Don't be impaired when you're driving. Be mindful of the signs and the detours that are along the project. And again, thank you for attending our media briefing.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Leonard. As a reminder, we will be posting a recording of this presentation on the 5920 website at 5920bridge.com. The website will contain all the most current information on the project, and we encourage you to utilize the website as a resource for up-to-date closure announcements, the media gallery for photos, and current content. If you have any questions following today's meeting, please contact Linda Crockett. And if there's nothing else at this time, this will conclude today's meeting. Thanks again to everyone for joining today's media briefing.